say 4 or 5 years ago, there were property owners along the lake, and not only here, but felt that the public couldn't walk along their beach because they owned the water. The court has since told them that's not the case. They owe to the water.
The bottomlands belong to the state. The benefits from the use of those bottomlands have to accrue to the state as a whole.
Like the property owner, if I own property on Lake Michigan, I don't own Lake Michigan. Now, do they have some rights as a viewscape? I think they do. Do they have the rights to make all the rules for all the people of Michigan, the Midwest, the United States, because they can afford to live on the lake? I don't think so. This is probably going to have to, I prefer government at the smallest possible level, but in this issue, I would believe that the more you have this local hassling, the more likely the state of Michigan is going to say, excuse me, if you can't figure it out, we will.
In 2008, various agencies from the state of Michigan created a fictional company that was going to make hypothetical wind farms. So they got together and they had this mock permitting run. The group found that the permit that is necessary, the basic permit, is called a joint permitting process. It involves the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Environment, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. Those are the two lead agencies that would be involved in permitting. And that part of the process seemed to work pretty well. They don't need to make any changes to the joint permit. The bottomland lease, as the legislation's currently written, is really more geared towards dock owners and marinas that would want to put, a structure or a buoy or something out in the harbor, in a nearshore setting. It's not designed for, large offshore wind power facilities. This group in this dry run realized that there need to be changes made in the lease part of that process. And that can be done through legislation or through administrative rulemaking, but something needs to be done.
It seems right now like the state of Michigan is more interested in pursuing the minutia of, when you read the draft legislation that the Glow Council put out, the D-leg recommendations, more interested in the minutia of permitting processes, streamlining things for developers, rather than kind of a larger approach to proofing the technology.
Rather than make any definitive policies or definitive decisions, we're trying to step back and gather the facts. I think this idea of, well, here's a concern, we have to instantly get an ordinance or some response to that policy, I don't think that's a good idea. Michigan is not the only place. Actually, the rest of the world is really jumping on wind energy and offshore wind energy. And there's lots of other places in the United States that are jumping on wind energy. And some of it is offshore. And if Michigan waits too long in deliberation, somebody else is going to get it. Do I advocate waiting until every single hurdle is taken before we make a decision? I can guarantee you one thing, if we wait that long, it isn't going to make any difference what we decide. Because once people start putting huge wind turbines up, wherever they put them up is where they're going to put them up. And once they get them up, they're not going to say, oh, well, let's take these down and go to Muskegon and Grand Haven and Pentwater. It's not going to happen.
Supply chain, components, all of this can be produced now. There's nothing stopping the state of Michigan from producing the supply chain components that would feed turbine manufacturer anywhere. We have the resources to do that, we have the manufacturing base to do that, we have the engineering to do that, we have the state subsidy funding and federal subsidy funding to do that. You don't build 250 megawatts and then, all of a sudden the state of Michigan is at the forefront of the wind energy business.